Welcome back to Dead Good Book Reviews. I'm Judith and you're watching another episode of Overbooked here on the channel. This is the series where I talk about every single book on my shelves because I opened up a magical book and it told me what to do. Today we are talking about Margaret Rogerson's Sorcery of Thorns and the Mysteries of Thorn Manor. Some quick disclaimers before we start. This book was bought by me. It's a fairy loot edition. It has some snazzy green sprayed edges. I did have a review copy of Mysteries of Thorn Manor though. Regardless of where books come from, nobody's paying me to talk about books and all opinions are my own. I'm going to keep this as spoiler free as humanly possible for both books. Obviously to talk about the concept of book 2, I'm going to have to talk a little bit about book 1. If you want to go in knowing absolutely nothing, click away now. I don't think it would ruin your reading experience of the book. And as ever, I will link the story graph for the series below in case you want to check out any user-generated content warnings. I'm going to put this behind me. It's a little bit shiny, so it's probably not super visible on camera. This is the cover in case you want to check that out. This is a YA fantasy book, as I say, by Margaret Rogerson. It came out in June of 2019, so it would have been right at the end of when I had Fairy Loot. 2019 feels late in the year for me to have had a Fairy Loot subscription, but you know what? Maybe that was how it was. Margaret Rogerson is an Ohio-based author who has also written Vespertine, which I read and enjoyed, and something about ravens. Enchantment of Ravens, which I have not yet read, but I feel like I would probably like. The plot of this book. Elizabeth Scrivener, our main character, it was a ward raised in a library, a magical library, and if there's one thing she knows, it's that sorcerers are evil. She is in charge of grimoires in said library. That's what the libraries do. They protect the books, they keep people safe from the books because grimoires are a little bit nasty, and yeah, sorcerers use them and sorcerers must be terrible. Of course, Elizabeth then gets accused of murder and has to team up with one such sorcerer in order to clear her name. And said sorcerer is... he's pretty easy on the eyes, shall we say. It's an adventuring, slightly spooky, hot wizard boyfriend book. Are you ready? One of the things I really like about this book and The Mysteries of Thorn Manor, which is the follow-on novella, I don't think I said that already, it's a follow-on novella that came out in 2023. One thing I really love is that it absolutely delivers on exactly what it says it's going to be. This is the kind of YA book that I want, where it just says, no judgment, you want to read a hot wizard boyfriend book? I've got you. You want it to have like a little bit of spookiness, but not too much. The stakes are high, but you kind of know everything's going to be all right in the end. That's what I wanted to have. A little bit of emotional stakes, but not too much. A good time for me. This is the kind of YA that I really enjoy, and I think the same can be said for Vespertine as well, which is her book that kind of came in the middle. And that feeling that you're in a safe pair of hands when it comes to YA is something I definitely look for when I am reading young adult books. As you will know if you've been following me for a while, if you're new here, welcome, please do subscribe. But if you've been following for a while, I kind of fell out of love with YA a lot over the last 3 or 4 years, and now doing Overbooked, I'm rereading a lot of the stuff that I had been reading in the past, and a lot of it ends up going on the ick pile, and I really thought that this might as well, but actually reading it, it is what I enjoy about that genre piled into one. I very much enjoyed it. There are other aspects of YA as a subgenre, marketing category that I do enjoy, but this is one of the big things. Because on top of having this kind of, you know, what an attractive sorcerer, maybe I shall kiss him kind of plotline, it also has a really interesting mystery plot. It's a really good adventure. It's very much a I have been toppled into this thing that I wasn't expecting and now I have to save the world kind of plot, which again is exactly the kind of thing I loved as a teenager and I still love now as an adult. Elizabeth is one of those characters that you would really just want to be. Like, she's bookish and she's adventurous and she can have a sword and she just runs around having fun, and it's very much sort of almost wish fulfillment, I guess, in a way. I wouldn't necessarily want Elizabeth's life. There's a lot of risk to it, but I can see myself having really wanted to be her. I think the other reason that this book works where some other similar books don't for me is that element of spookiness added to it, because if you took that out of it, it would be quite a, you know, a relatively good twee YA romance. Librarian and the Sorcerer, you'd get on with it. But because Margaret Rogerson writes these kind of slightly spooky, kind of gothic settings, and I mean that in like a, I don't mean that in a traditionally gothic sense, but like there is an element of spook to this. Stories where these grimoires are pretty disgusting, and like there's elements of grit to it that just ground everything into feeling balanced in a way that I think if you took those elements out, it wouldn't feel that way. On the one hand, you have, let me live an extravagant life in this mansion that I've never had access to before. And on the other hand, you have, I'm trying to be killed and someone is coming after me and they are not nice and everything is scary and there is bad magic afoot. I don't know why I've written, the way I phrased that in here is mix of tweeness and morbid / horror elements that just make for my hives. Make for my hives. Not sure what I was trying to type there, but that's what I typed. I can't even think what that would have autocorrected from. It's fine. In terms of characters, I would say it's a fairly small cast of characters both in this and Mysteries of Thorn Manor, more so in Mysteries because that's a very contained story, but You don't meet like a huge number of people in this story. It's very clear who is who. Another thing that I, as a person who continually forgets who characters are and what they are doing, I very much appreciated. I think it is a good mix of people, and Margaret Rogerson really tried to make it feel like it was representing a lot of different people. It doesn't always hit the mark. Not everything's going to, but there's definitely ace representation in here. Other than that, though, it's fairly straight thinking about it, so perhaps not, you know, ideal, but it's there, and honestly, I will take there at this point. Obviously, if you're not a fan of YA, this isn't going to be a book for you. If you're a person who reads exclusively adult fantasy, I wouldn't say this is a, you know, one of those books that can transition between the two. I would say it's leaning like towards the older end of YA, not in a Sarah J Maas kind of way, but more in a, I can't think of a good example of a comparison. It's slightly edgier than some other stuff is. But yeah, if you're not a YA person, this isn't going to be for you. And in a lot of ways, it is somewhat simple. You know, that's personally why I enjoy it. I like something that's going to let me turn my brain off a little bit, just have a good time with a book. But if you're looking for something that's addressing this in more of a complex manner, that's not necessarily going to be for you. I want to touch briefly on Mysteries of Thorn Manor as a sequel, because when I scripted this video, I hadn't read it yet, but I have read it when I'm filming because I'm drastically behind in my filming schedule. Mysteries of Thorn Manor, companion novella to the book, came out in early 2023, was originally conceived as an extended epilogue to the book one, which people were asking for. It's great. It reads very much like fan fiction, but canonic fan fiction. Do you know what I mean? Where, again, the stakes are low. It's broadly focused on romance. There is a little bit of grit and stuff to it, but broadly speaking, it's just a good time spending more time with these characters, which is exactly what I wanted it to be. I think it's really, really enjoyable. I just had a great time with it. I think it's well worth reading. Some comparisons, some other things you might want to read if you have read this, or if you're thinking about reading this and you're wanting to, I don't know, bulk buy this kind of book. I don't know why you would be doing that, but never mind. Margaret Rogerson's Vespertine, I do actually recommend. It's a very different kind of story. It's a very different kind of main character, but I had a really good time with it. I actually very much enjoyed the audiobook. I would say any other Hot Wizard boyfriend book that you were interested in, it'll be comparable to this. I also think my dear friend A.D. Hart has a number of stories that definitely are very evocative of Mysteries of Thorn Manor. So if you like that, you'll definitely like her work, and you should check that out. I will link her. It's one of the. I'll link her below. I'll find a thing to link. I'll link. Overall, do I think you should read Sorcery of Thorns and indeed Mysteries of Thorn Manor? I think 100%. Mysteries of Thorn Manor is not essential reading, but if you like Sorcery of Thorns, you might as well. I just think there is this particular kind of comfort read that Sorcery of Thorns is for me, where it just hits that balance really well. I've said it multiple times in this video that this is a wholesome book, but also has a bit of spook and grit to it, and that's basically exactly what I want all the time. That's my branding, that's my vibe, that's what I want. Here we go. Have you read this? Do you have plans to? Are you reading the sequel or companion book? What's going on with that? Let me know down in the comments below. While you're down there commenting, if you haven't already, please do subscribe. It makes me feel loved and appreciated. You can also follow me on social media. Come hang out on Discord, where we have chill chats about books. I'd like to say a huge, big, squishy thank you to all the ghosts who haunt me over on Patreon. They support the channel and in return get early access to videos, bonus content and live streams. If you would like to join their number, that's linked in the description as well. Thank you so much for watching. That's all from me, and I will see you in the next one. There's gonna be some bloopers now. Today we are not destroying my set. I think that's everything I wanted to say. This isn't going to be particularly long. I feel like overbooked videos are getting shorter and shorter as I get better at talking about things.